Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Boerne Brew. I'm the host of today's show. My name's Kerry Barboza, and I'm the sports editor of the Boerne Star newspaper, and I'm sitting in the Boerne radio studios in the Richter building here with Roland Jay Baris. Roland is our studio engineer, and he's the public address announcer at the Spurs and Missions home games, and he's helping us out today. And joining me and Roland on the show is today's guest. He's a new head football coach at Geneva School of Boerne, Adam Foren. Coach Foren, thank you for coming out on the show.
Absolutely. Great to be here, and heard a lot of good things about the show, so looking forward to being on it.
All right. So when was your first day at Geneva? What was the actual first day?
Officially April 20th, so met the team April 8th, did a parent meeting with the Rhetoric School parents, and then officially started April 20th, so hitting the ground running here this spring.
And you and I were talking before we came on the air. I asked you how the move was going. So you said you're living in near Dripping Springs and you're commuting, so you got about an hour-ish drive, depending on traffic, I guess. But are you going to continue with that? Are you going to try to get closer? What are your plans for the future?
Yeah, I think short term, my wife's a first grade teacher at Lake Travis ISD. So, throughout the school year, we'll kind of keep with the commute, and then we'll kind of see where things go from there. But, we really love the Boerne community and a lot of similarities to the community we're currently in, and that's why this was a really attractive opportunity for our family, and definitely something we're looking into.
Now, for those listening that don't know, you're the 8th head coach in Geneva history. Bill Wehunt, who I knew, Bill was a Boerne high coach. He retired, and Geneva rehired him. Matt Arafat, Scott Stoley, Dean Herbert. Dean won the state championship 11-man. I think Scott won the 6-man. It was either Matt or Scott that won the 6-man. Julia Scott, they called him Juju. Grant Gaston, Bob Rosen Steel, and now you. And I heard that Coach Gaston is heading up to Austin to join Coach Rosen Steel. That's what I've heard. Yeah,
I've talked to Coach Bob a little bit. I haven't talked to Grant yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about both.
And it was kind of ironic that you came from St. Michael's and Coach Rosensteel went to St. Michael's, but his was a lateral move. He went from head coach to head coach. You kind of got promoted. What were you doing at St. Michael's? I believe you're the OC and assistant coach.
Yeah, so the last 3 years I've been at St. Michael's. I joined the staff as the offensive coordinator, and then this past season added the associate head coach title. So, worked with our head coach, who I had a great experience with, and again, it was going to take the right opportunity for us to make a jump, and this was definitely that.
Yeah, and, it's funny, when I was talking to Coach Rosensteel when he left, I'd asked him, I said, well, who do you think is going to get your job, the old job, Geneva job? And he's like, well, I don't know, a lot of people are applying. He said, there's a guy that was at St. Michael's, and he said, I think he'd be a good fit. So he was talking about you, obviously, so... But I know you applied for the St. Michael's job, and then this one came open, and when you saw it, what was your first thought when you saw it opening?
Well, I think, a tradition of excellence, not just on the field, but just the school community itself. When you research Geneva and that family atmosphere, those are things that really stood out, having a 2-year-old daughter and my wife, and, not just the athletics piece, but the school community was something that was really attractive for us, and why we first, went for it. And as the process went through, it became more and more evident that it was the right fit for us.
That is Adam Foren, Geneva's new head football coach, here on the Boerne Brew that you're listening to on Boerne Radio 103.9 and 1500 AM, and also on the Boerne Star and Boerne Radio websites. How's meeting the team? How many players you have in the program right now off season?
Yeah, we're in the low 40s right now in terms of at the Rhetoric School level, and we've had really good buy-in in terms of the weight room work and some of the off-the-field work, which I'm really proud of the kids, honestly, just getting to know them. And, they've had some adversity over the last few years, a lot of on-field success, but also some adversity with just some transitions. And they've done a great job of buying into our current staff and my message, and, working together to continue the standards that have been set by a lot of great players and coaches before us, but also to elevate those standards, too, to get to where we want to get to.
How many returners are you going to have back from last year?
Well, we'll see officially. I know we have a good amount on both offense and defense. Again, depending on as we go through spring ball and summer, I can give you something more concrete. But, really a lot of depth back and a lot of leadership back, which is really the big thing, and in some key positions, which we're really excited about.
Yeah, I think you bring your quarterback back. I believe Caleb Quidadamo is coming back.
Yeah, we have Caleb, and then we have Bryce Hanover, are both guys who have varsity quarterback experience. Obviously, Caleb had a great season this past year and has done a great job of working in the weight room, and I have a quarterback background, and so that's the group we're hardest on in terms of how we want them to not just approach the on-field work, but the off-the-field work. And both him and Bryce have done a great job of that. And Bryce has experience as well. His sophomore year has quarterback experience. So having two guys who can play at a high level is really critical for us and what we want to do offensively.
Yeah, especially football. Unfortunately, injuries are part of it. And generally, somebody's going to get hurt somewhere, and the backups get their chance to shine. And you got two guys that have seen a lot of quarterback action. So as far as being a head coach, this is your first head coaching job, is that correct?
Yep.
Talking to head coaches that have done it before, what's going to be, do you think, the biggest adjustment for you?
Well, I just think the, day-to-day organization and day-to-day tasks that you're assigned as a head coach can, if you're not organized and prepared, then you can get spun out pretty quickly. But fortunately for me, having college experience, I've been an associate head coach at the 6A level. I've had as much on-field experience and training as I can without having had that position. So it's been a really seamless transition so far, and I'm really appreciative of the staff we currently have that have helped us make this really smooth so far, and looking forward to continuing to work together this spring and summer and having a successful fall.
And you mentioned your football background, quite a football background, like you said. You were the OC at St. Michael's there for 3 seasons, I believe, and then they added the title of associate head coach, I believe, for the 25 season. Spent 9 years coaching collegiately, 4 seasons as offensive coordinator, recruiting coordinator, and quarterbacks coach at North Park University in Chicago.
Yep, that's the one, about 2.5 miles from Wrigley Field.
Oh, wow. Okay. What are they, D3, 2, 3, 2?
Yep, Division III, and play in the same conference as North Central College, which is a national powerhouse. And, again, one of the best Division III conferences in the country, which was a great experience as a coach to be able to compete in, and also at the small college level where you're wearing a lot of different hats, which, again, really ties in well with head coach responsibilities.
And you also served as quarterback coach at Wilmington College. Which Wilmington is that?
Yeah, it's in Ohio. So, again, right by Cincinnati, about 45 minutes from Cincinnati.
And then safeties coach at Saginaw Valley State in Michigan.
Yep, Division II program in the GLIAC Conference, which, again, at that level is either 1A or 1B top conferences in the country, and was a really good experience for me coaching defensively. That's one of the traits that I think I bring as a coach, is having coached all 3 phases of the game, not just offensively, but defensively and in special teams. So understanding the importance of tying those 3 phases of the game together is something that we're already the process of building here at Geneva. I think it's really important for the head coach to have their hands in all 3 phases, because it's really important for our players and for our coaching staff to understand that we're in this together. And so we're going to allow our coaches to have freedom of responsibility and freedom to grow in their roles, but also that we're going to work together to put the best product we can on Friday nights. So, it's been a great experience so far for me, and meeting with our defensive coordinator and going through things that we like, going through things that we want to enhance and improve on. And I'm really excited for the group we have back defensively to take another step like they've begun to the second half of last season, and then, in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and you mentioned the defensive coordinator. I forgot his name.
Gibby, Coach Gibby.
Yeah. He's a Holy Cross guy. He came from Holy Cross. And that's your big rival. What have you heard about Holy Cross?
Yeah, fortunately, we've been able to, at my previous place, we were scrimmaging them for 2 seasons, so I've gotten to know them and know Coach Harrison. And, again, we have a lot of respect for them, and we really look forward to the opportunity of competing against them at the end of October. And, again, having scrimmaged them the last 2 years, we have a good sense of what we're going to see. And, for us, it's really important right now that, end of April, that we're just focusing one day at a time at what we want to control, which is our attitude and our effort. And then, that's going to help us into those, opportunities late in the season.
That is Adam Foren joining us here on the Boerne Brew. He's Geneva's new head coach. He's the 8th head coach in the school's history. And like your predecessor, Rosen Steel, he played in college. You played in college. You played quarterback at Hope College in Holland, Michigan.
That's the one. So, yep, Hope College was really fortunate to have a Hall of Fame head coach in Dean Krebs, who was also an offensive mind, and kind of the first tenets of what I believe offensively really came from Coach Krebs. And having played quarterback and then began my coaching career there was a great perspective, and, again, at the small college level, and was really beneficial for me that is helping today.
So those schools we've mentioned, North Park, Wilmington, Hope College, did you ever play or coach against anybody that made it to the NFL?
Yeah, at Saginaw Valley, we played against a number of guys. Matt Judon, who's a defensive end for the Baltimore Ravens, was a guy we faced. Matt McCoy was a safety that I coached at Saginaw Valley, who was an All-American who had an injury but was playing at the professional level as well. So, at Wilmington as well, Cecil Shorts was a guy that was at Mountain Union, which is a school that we played against. So we've, had experiences against high-level players, and that's what, fortunately, being in a lot of really high-level conferences at the college level, D3 and Division II levels, you see really high-end talent and what that looks like.
They stand out, don't they?
Absolutely, and
yeah,
they jump off the page, and again, what's cool about those types of guys is when you talk to their coaches and you see not just the Saturday or the Friday nights when they're playing, but it's their daily habits and how they work and how they elevate not to themselves but other people, and that's something we're trying to do with some of our top returners is not just elevate their own performance, but can you elevate other people around you. That's how you have really successful teams good turn from good teams to those championship level teams.
And you're from Michigan originally. What city did you grow up in?
Yeah, so Hazlet, Michigan, which is a suburb of East Lansing, so that's Michigan State territory. So a lot of my sister went to Michigan. We got the house divided thing, all that. But
Wolverines and the Spartans.
That's right. So yeah, I'm from Hazlet, which is a suburb of East Lansing.
So your playing days and then coaching days, weather's a lot more severe there. Did you coach and play in snow and all that good stuff?
Oh, yeah, a whole lot of that. This time of year, I'm wearing short sleeves right now, and you don't usually get that in Michigan. So, it's a lot better to play quarterback down here than up there. But, handle the adversity, which is a big trait of what we're looking for, which, again, was beneficial for me as a quarterback.
Well, and you've been in the area now in Texas because you were in St. Michael's there. You used to the heat because that's the big thing when you hear people move from the north is the heat. Have you adjusted to it?
Yeah, I think you just, I got my water bottle right next to me. You got to make sure you're constantly hydrating. I learned that the hard way. I came up in May of my first season there, and we had spring ball, and then the first June, like our second workout, I had in there enough water the night before and started getting those headaches. So you learn pretty quickly that you got to hydrate and put the right things in your body, or else you're going to be hurting the rest of the day and into the next day.
That is Adam Foren joining us here. He's a new head coach at Geneva School of Boerne, beginning just this month, starting at the school, is taking over the program. Now, so you went from St. Michael's to here, and before that we mentioned some of the different schools. Is moving around that much hard on the family, and you don't get to stay one place very long and you just keep moving around? How hard is that? Yeah,
that's part of the reason why we wanted to come down to Texas was, loved coaching at the college level and, against some of the competition that you mentioned. But, from a family standpoint, that's really important for my identity and what we believe in. And, having a wife and 2-year-old daughter who we want to spend time with, being at this level allows us to have the best of both worlds, where you're competing against some of the top competition in the country, which we've talked about. If you, the state of Texas, I think the NFL draft had 33 players drafted, which is more than any other state. Like, this state has a high standard for football, while also being able to have, a family life, which is really important for me and my family. I think we want to be where our feet are. That's the biggest thing I've learned in this business is, be where your feet are, have 10 toes down, just attack every single day with an enthusiasm. And that's what, for us, when we've been at our best is when you're in high, a standard of excellence is set in communities, and Geneva has that, and we love being a part of the Geneva community. We're really excited to continue to get to know, the community as a whole, and that's what we're really focused on right now is continuing the standards that we've set in the football program, while also elevating those to some of those championship levels that they're used to, in the last few years.
And you mentioned growing up in Michigan, you're a Pistons fan. The Spurs are in the middle of playoffs, and Roland here is their PA guy, so maybe they could meet. It still could happen. It'd have to be in the finals.
More likely for you guys than the Pistons right now, yeah, but I'm pretty neutral from the Texas standpoint, big fan of the Spurs, and but yeah, the Pistons, we got some work to do, but I'm a fan of them.
And then Spartans, how about MLB Tigers?
So ironically, I'm a Cubs fan. So again, I spent 4 years in Chicago. Before that, I had family in the area growing up, so I've always been a Cubs fan, and that's the team I'm pretty passionate about. That MLB app's nice to listen to their radio telecasts, and Pat Hughes and those guys and they're on a good run so far. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Knock on wood.
That's right.
That is Adam Foren joining us here on the Boerne Brew, Geneva's new head coach. I'm the host of today's show. My name's Kerry Barboza, and I'm the sports editor of the Boerne Star. Met with the players. Rosen Steel was only the head coach 1 year, so it'd be their second head coach in 2 years. And I think the coach before didn't stay long either, Juju. So what's it been like, to meet these guys? What's been the reception? When you come in, you tell them this is how we're going to do things, and what's it been like?
Yeah, I think the first thing, we talk about being a true team family, and the first thing is get to know each other, right? The players have done an outstanding job. We've had one-on-one meetings for the first 2 weeks where we've spent 15 to 20 minutes, just me and them, and really going through who they are, what they believe in, what questions they have for me, and having really frank conversations, which has been extremely beneficial for me to get to know these kids, and then for them to start to establish that trust. And it's not built overnight, right? So that's something that's been really important for me, is coming in with a great community and making sure that these kids see that we're, investing in time in them, and we're going to continue to do that, not just during the season, but it's got to be a 12-month process. Whether it's, one thing I really like is we have a lot of multi-sport guys, so being able to support them at baseball, basketball, track, musical instruments. We have various guys playing some different instruments, but just being visible and being present for them and being open for them where they're at in the process. Because as you mentioned, they've handled some adversity, and they've done a great job of that, as I said, and they're doing a lot of things really well on the field, and we got to continue to build those relationships off the field so that we can grow together and get this thing to where we want it to go.
Yeah, and I said Juju was actually Grant Gaston, and then so he was there his last year, and then Bob was there a year, so he'll be the third head coach in 3 years. So, yeah, but kids are resilient. They bounce back well. Yeah,
and they've done it, and they've had great coaches in the past, which, has really set them up. And they've done a great job of, again, being very open and receptive to myself, and we've had a great staff in place that have really helped in terms of, the weight room program has stayed intact this spring, which is critical in football. And we've had outstanding attendance, not good, outstanding attendance from our players. And that just shows, again, they're buying into themselves, and they're buying in with the message we're trying to promote. And those things, if we continue to stack those daily habits, then that's going to allow us to get to where we want to go later on.
How much will you go back and look at game film from last year? Are you doing that now, or is that something you plan to do?
Yeah, I've already went through every opponent we're going to see. We've went through in detail. There's some of that in terms of just kind of what their baseline is on certain players, but also really important for me to see them in person, because everybody's journey changes in terms of whether you're a junior to your senior year, sophomore to junior year, freshman to sophomore. So getting a sense of who they are, not just looking at box scores, but seeing how games went is important. But then it's just kind of one piece of evidence that I try to use in terms of evaluating our players and evaluating our processes and what things we want to continue and what things we want to maybe adjust to try to help us moving forward, which is the most important thing, is moving forward into the 26th season.
So how much are you going to change things? How much, because I know you're an OC guy and, offensive background, but would you change a lot compared to what they've been doing in the past?
Yeah, I think every season's its own. You got to adapt or die. So for us, there's a lot of similarities offensively in terms of some things they've done in the past. And so, again, for me as an offensive-minded person, we start with what our quarterbacks do well. And so, things that our quarterbacks have done well in the past, it would be not very smart of us not to continue to do those things, right? But there's also things that maybe I'll emphasize more that maybe we feel like fits them for this current season, then maybe it changed. So definitely not going to reinvent the wheel in certain aspects. We want to do what our players do really well in all three phases of the game and make sure that we're playing really good complementary football on offense, taking care of the ball, generating explosive plays, controlling the tempo. On defense, stopping the run, limiting explosive plays, lining up and getting set properly. And then on special teams, making sure that we know where we're lined up and we're being difference makers. Those are three, in each three phases, the identity of what we want our team to look like. And that's what we're working towards every day to be able to do that in the fall.
So do you do offensively, do you do like the spread? How would you describe it?
Yeah, we're going to be a spread offense. We're going to be air raid principles in the pass game. I won't go too far into what we'll do, but a lot of similarities to some things they've done here in the past. Those are success leaves clues. So being able to see what our players have done well, and, we'll definitely, spread the ball and get our playmakers the ball. And we have a lot of really talented guys, both in the backfield, up front, and as skill positions. And as I mentioned, a couple of really talented quarterbacks. So really excited about the potential we have on that side of the ball, while also, again, making sure that we're playing complementary football with helping our defense. Special teams being a point of emphasis. We have a really talented senior kicker, and we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to make a difference in the special teams game. And in the biggest games of the season, those are the things that stand out, and the best teams are really sound in all three phases.
Yeah, your kicker, I think he's been on varsity, I think, all 4 years, and he's done well.
Yeah, he's a worker, and, kickers are sometimes a different breed, but he's a kid who, in our one-on-one meeting, he'll look you in the eye, shake your hand with a firm handshake, and, a lefty, and really excited about the possibilities we have with him and the special teams, and, challenged him along with some of our other seniors to be leaders, not just to, have success individually, but lead his special teams and other positions. Being leaders and bringing other people with you is a huge point of emphasis this spring.
Yeah, and he's got a sister, I think, that's a good athlete as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think All-State or I knew she's very well thought of. Again, part of the cool part of this community is being able to have siblings and seeing different faces. I mean, we have Chase Doran, who's going to be a junior, who's one of 5, and so he's got a 7th grade brother we just met with, and just seeing different families and different kids and thriving in different areas is really cool part of the community that we're in.
Yeah, and the kicker, tell me his name again.
So Parker's the kicker. He's a lefty.
Parker Island.
Yep, Parker Island.
Yeah, and I was at a game and I was standing there and he was kicking into the net and I was just standing there and he comes up and he says, "Excuse me, sir," and I had a bug on my shoulder or something. He took the bug off. So nice guy.
Yeah, very much. And he, he's gotten bigger and stronger, and he's going to be participating in our spring practices, been doing a great job of getting ready for the season.
Now, as far as the off season, I know you're doing weights right now, but do you plan to do 7-on-7 this summer?
Yeah, we'll do 7-on-7. We'll be at San Antonio Christian kind of weekly. In June, we'll do the TAPS tournament on the 19th and 20th, which will be a great opportunity to, put some people in different positions and see us in competitive settings, which is really the important part of spring and summer, which is partially why we're going to do spring practices here later this spring, and is putting our guys in competitive situations and see how they handle it, and putting some people in different positions so that when we get to the fall and adversity hits, we've been through that together, and not just focusing on what's important for the 26th season, not what's important from past seasons, but this group is its own group, and so building those relationships is really important in spring, and then at those 7-on-7s in the summer to be able to lead to a successful fall.
Well, one thing, TAPS realign the district every 2 years. They do it in the same year that UIL does. And you're in a new district. What do you think about the district coming up?
Really competitive, which again is, when you're in a program that's full of high achievers, which we are, we want to play against other high achieving teams. And this is a district that's as competitive as there's been in recent history for our program, which is really exciting, which also means we have to prepare every single day because we're going to face the best week in and week out. And if we don't, then we're not going to like the results. So that's something that our kids have done a great job of buying into, but you're absolutely right. This is the most competitive schedule they've had at Geneva in a few years for sure. Yeah,
it's going to be a fun season, I believe. As far as the offense, I know you led an offense. I think you were averaging 30 points a game at St. Michael's, and you've scored a lot offensively as OC. What's the key to scoring a lot? Is there a particular key that you look at to get a lot of points on the board?
Yeah, I think first of all, knowing what you're doing is critical. Alignment, assignment, execution is starts and ends, because if we don't know exactly what we're doing week in and week out, then we're not going to have consistent success. Offensively, taking care of the football is a point of emphasis, and in generating explosive plays. And if we're able to do those two things along with controlling the tempo, which means you'll see us go up tempo, you'll see us slow it down, we'll do different motions and pre-snap movements. But we want to dictate how the game's played on offense and not the other way around. And so, the 3 keys are generating explosive plays, taking care of the football, and controlling the tempo. And if we continue to work that beginning in this time of year and work that throughout our 7-on-7s and then into the fall, then we'll have consistent success, which is what we've been fortunate to do at the 6A level. We've beat every team in the district the past 2 years, which we're one of 2 teams that were able to do that, and consistent success is what we're looking for. Everybody can have a good game or 2 here or there, but can we consistently develop the right habits so that we can have consistent success on offense and then on defense and then special teams as well?
That is Adam Foren joining us here on the Boerne Brew. We're getting ready to wrap up. We want to thank you, Coach Foren, for taking the time out and coming to visit with us. Any predictions for the upcoming year?
I'm really excited about how we're working right now. We've done a great job in the weight room, and again, buying in with the transition. I give a lot of credit to our current staff in place to help smooth that transition, and I really enjoy working with this group every single day. The one prediction I have is we're going to have a great opportunity to get better today, which will help us have a great opportunity to get better tomorrow, and continue to grow our program, and we'll see where we go from there.
First day of practice in August with that first Monday?
Yep, first Monday of August. Again, we're going to have spring practices. We're allowed up to 14. We'll do about 8 of them scheduled in shorts and shirts, and that'll be a good chance for us to get our feet wet with, kind of a new coach and, just some of the tweaks and evaluate the players, and players evaluate us, and then we'll do our summer work, as you mentioned, with some of the 7-7 opportunities, and then first Monday of August, we'll hit the ground running, and we'll get ready for our first opportunity.
When do your spring drills start?
So it's based on our baseball, which I guess by now
they're still playing.
Yeah, so they're still playing. So the hope is, they make a deep run, then we'll keep pushing back the dates. But, we'll see based on our baseball successes, which again, we're hoping for, as far as they'll go. Then after that, we'll be in our practices. But we'll have about 8 of them scheduled. We're up to 14 allowed, but we'll do about half of that. But I think it's really important for us to get out there in the spring, and I know the kids are chomping at the bit to get back out there and continue to improve together.
Well, Coach Foren, we want to thank you for coming out on the show, and good luck to you this season. We'll be seeing a lot of you in the fall.
Awesome. Really appreciate what you guys do. Both my parents were, a newspaper background, so we love the Boerne Star and really appreciate your support.
That's awesome. I'm glad you come from the newspaper background, so you understand what I'm going through.
A little bit, yeah. I like to joke, as a coach, usually we're kind of at odds at times, but fortunately in this community, that's not the case, and we really appreciate being a part of it.
Well, we'll be at your game, so looking forward to watching you guys play.
Thanks. Great to talk to you.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. And thank you out there for listening to the Boerne Brew. We'll talk to you next time.